Did you know over 14 million people in the UK now live in areas officially classified as in decline? Shocking, right? And it's not just small towns. Some of the country's biggest, richest, and most iconic cities are falling apart right in front of our eyes. We're talking about crumbling public services, skyrocketing homelessness, violent crime, and failed regeneration plans, happening in places you'd never expect. Why are these once thriving urban giants now struggling to survive? What's causing this silent collapse? And could your city be next? Stay with us, because what you're about to see might completely change how you view the UK's urban future. City by city, we're counting down the ones that are losing their battle to stay alive. Number 10. Leicester. Once celebrated for its cultural diversity and historic textile industry, Leicester is now struggling with an unsettling transformation. Once a beacon of multicultural harmony, the city is now facing a rise in social tension, driven by economic hardship and community fragmentation. One of the most pressing issues is poverty. According to recent surveys, Leicester ranks among the highest in child poverty rates across the UK. Families are battling with skyrocketing living costs, while wages remain stagnant. Many residents rely heavily on food banks, and even those with jobs are considered part of the working poor. The NHS services in Leicester are under immense pressure. Hospitals are experiencing staff shortages, delayed treatments, and rising patient numbers. The mental health crisis has deepened, particularly among youth and ethnic minority groups. Education is also in decline. Underfunded schools are struggling to provide quality education, leading to a rise in school dropouts and academic underperformance. Teachers report increasing burnout due to overcrowded classrooms and lack of resources. On the streets, homelessness is more visible than ever. The city centre reveals a painful contrast between modern shopping centres and people sleeping rough nearby. Local charities are overwhelmed, struggling to meet basic needs. Leicester's rich heritage still beats in its festivals and markets, but beneath the vibrant surface, there's a city at risk of collapse. Without strategic intervention, the city may spiral further, losing not just infrastructure, but its social fabric. Number 9. Coventry. Coventry, once hailed as a post-war symbol of urban rebirth, is now facing a wave of decline that threatens its identity. The city was proudly named the UK City of Culture in 2021, raising hopes for a lasting transformation. But just a few years later, many of those ambitious regeneration projects remain unfinished or have stalled due to budget cuts and lack of long-term planning. Coventry's city centre tells a visual story of half-completed buildings, empty shop fronts, and a high turnover of small businesses. Locals complain that the improvements promised during the City of Culture campaign didn't reach their neighbourhoods. Beyond the centre, many areas still suffer from urban decay, crumbling infrastructure, and neglected public spaces. Crime is a growing concern. Reports indicate a noticeable increase in youth violence, property crime, and antisocial behaviour, leading residents to feel increasingly unsafe. Policing cuts have made visible impacts, with fewer patrols and delayed emergency response times. Public transport is outdated and inconsistent. Many commuters find the bus system unreliable, further isolating suburban areas. The lack of connectivity affects job access, education, and healthcare, deepening the city's socio-economic divide. Coventry's past innovations in engineering and manufacturing once placed it at the heart of Britain's industrial might. Now, its economic foundations are fragile, dependent on dwindling public funds and disconnected urban policy. Without cohesive strategy and investment, Coventry risks becoming a shell of the progressive city it once strived to be. Number 8. Nottingham. Known for its legendary ties to Robin Hood, Nottingham has long been associated with resilience and rebellion. But today, the city faces a very different kind of battle, one against rising crime, youth unemployment, and financial instability that threaten its urban core. Nottingham city centre boasts modern developments and vibrant nightlife, yet just beyond the neon lights, entire communities are grappling with poverty, housing insecurity, and a growing sense of social disconnection. Council reports show a concerning spike in gang-related violence, particularly among teenagers in low-income neighbourhoods. Residents describe an atmosphere of tension with knife crime and drug activity becoming more frequent in recent years. The city's council finances are in critical condition. Nottingham City Council has faced repeated warnings for poor financial management, with millions lost in failed investments, such as the collapse of its energy firm Robin Hood Energy. These losses have directly impacted public services, leading to cuts in youth programmes, library closures, and reduced maintenance of public parks and roads. Nottingham also suffers from a growing housing crisis. Wait lists for social housing are long, and many families are placed in temporary or substandard accommodation. The situation has only worsened with rising rent prices and stagnant wages. Despite hosting 2 major universities, many graduates leave for opportunities elsewhere, contributing to a brain drain that slows the city's innovation and recovery. Behind the facade of modernity, Nottingham is quietly unravelling, struggling to find its footing amid increasing economic and social pressure. Number 7. Bristol. Bristol is often praised as one of the UK's most progressive cities, known for its tech startups, art scene, and green initiatives. But behind the trendy cafes and colourful murals lies a growing divide that's reshaping the city's identity. Rapid gentrification is pushing long-time residents out of their neighbourhoods as housing costs skyrocket beyond affordability. Once affordable inner-city areas like Stokes Croft and Easton have seen a dramatic shift. Luxury apartments and hipster venues have replaced community centres and local shops. The result is a stark divide between wealthier newcomers and the working-class communities that built Bristol's cultural legacy. Homelessness is on the rise. Local shelters are overwhelmed, and the number of people sleeping rough has doubled in recent years. Meanwhile, social housing shortages mean many are trapped in overcrowded, damp, or temporary accommodation. Even professionals with stable jobs report struggling to secure affordable rent. Public transport remains unreliable, especially in outer districts, creating daily hurdles for workers and students. Residents have criticised the lack of infrastructure investment and the city's failure to deliver on long-promised upgrades. While Bristol ranks high in education and environmental awareness, it also ranks high in inequality. Food bank usage has surged, and many families now rely on community pantries just to get by. Despite the vibrant festivals and innovative branding, Bristol's facing a silent crisis. As wealth concentrates in small pockets, many feel left behind in a city they no longer recognise. Number 6. Birmingham. Birmingham, the UK's second largest city, is facing a crisis of scale. Known for its industrial heritage, cultural diversity, and ambitious regeneration projects, Birmingham was once a symbol of urban resurgence. But in 2025, it is dealing with a deepening financial meltdown that's placing enormous strain on its people and infrastructure. In 2023, Birmingham City Council declared itself effectively bankrupt, issuing a Section 114 notice, the largest local government financial collapse in British history. This followed years of mismanagement, equal pay liabilities, and overspending on flawed digital projects. The result has been widespread cuts to vital services. Libraries, youth centres, road repairs, and even waste collection have all seen drastic reductions. The impact is visible across the city. Rubbish piles up in residential streets. Public parks are becoming overgrown and unsafe. Street lighting outages are common in low-income areas. Adding to fears about public safety, many locals feel abandoned by a system that seems too broken to help them. Education has also suffered. Several schools are operating with outdated facilities and under-resourced staff. Mental health services, especially for children and teens, are overwhelmed. Combined with rising poverty and youth unemployment, this has created a powder keg of frustration among Birmingham's younger population. Despite cranes towering over the skyline, many of the city's redevelopment projects have stalled. Ambitious plans like the Smithfield regeneration and HS2-linked upgrades are either behind schedule or indefinitely paused due to lack of funds. Birmingham's proud reputation as a multicultural powerhouse is now overshadowed by uncertainty. The people are resilient, but the city's infrastructure, governance, and social services are buckling under relentless pressure. raising urgent questions about its ability to recover from this sustained urban shock. Number 5. Liverpool. Liverpool, a city steeped in maritime history, music, and cultural pride, is now facing a period of political turmoil, economic uncertainty, and public service decline. Once a poster child for urban regeneration, Liverpool's recent headlines tell a different story, one of governance scandals and broken promises. Years of progress have been overshadowed by high-profile cases of corruption within the city council. Following government investigations, parts of the council were taken over by commissioners due to concerns about mismanagement and lack of transparency. These events have seriously damaged public trust in leadership, stalling development plans and drying up crucial investment. Despite new waterfront apartments and tourist attractions, many of Liverpool's inner city areas remain locked in deep poverty. Unemployment rates are higher than the national average, and mental health services are stretched beyond capacity. Community programs once funded through regeneration grants have been cut, leaving youth groups, libraries, and cultural institutions fighting to survive. Public housing is in deteriorating condition, and residents complain of delayed repairs, damp walls, and unsafe living conditions. The promise of a better future has not materialised for many of the city's long-standing working-class communities, although Liverpool continues to attract tourists and football fans from around the globe. The city behind the headlines is one grappling with instability. The tension between its vibrant heritage and its modern-day challenges is growing louder, especially among locals who feel unheard and left behind in the shadow of political chaos and uneven development. Number 4. Glasgow. Glasgow, once the beating heart of Scotland's industrial revolution, is now a city marked by a harsh contrast between ambition and adversity. Behind its vibrant murals and iconic music scene lies a growing crisis of health inequality, social deprivation, and infrastructure decay that's become impossible to ignore. The city continues to suffer from one of the highest drug-related death rates in Europe. Entire communities are affected, with families losing loved ones to overdose, addiction, and the failure of long-promised rehabilitation programs. Efforts to tackle this epidemic have been slow, hindered by underfunding and bureaucratic gridlock. Many parts of Glasgow remain trapped in multi-generational poverty. Areas like Postle Park, Easterhouse, and Drumchapel consistently rank among the most deprived in the UK. Residents face daily struggles with unemployment, limited access to mental health care, and underfunded schools. Physical signs of decline are equally visible. Public housing blocks are in poor condition, and many have been left half demolished or covered in graffiti. Meanwhile, public facilities like swimming pools and libraries have been shut down or are operating on limited hours due to budget cuts. Despite these struggles, Glasgow's people remain fiercely resilient, proud of their city's working-class spirit and artistic legacy. But the structural issues continue to mount, pushing residents to question whether regeneration is truly reaching those who need it most, or simply polishing the surface for tourists and investors. The promise of a brighter Glasgow exists, but the road ahead demands far more than slogans and street art. It requires meaningful investment in the lives that make this city real. Number 3. Sheffield. Sheffield, once renowned as the steel capital of the world, is now struggling under the weight of economic stagnation, neglected infrastructure, and a sense of being left behind in the modern era. While the city has made attempts to rebrand itself through green initiatives and university expansion, the deeper issues remain painfully visible. The collapse of heavy industry left Sheffield with deep economic scars. Decades later, some post-industrial zones remain underdeveloped, marked by abandoned factories, boarded-up storefronts, and weeds creeping through concrete lots. Many of these spaces have seen failed redevelopment efforts, leaving locals frustrated and disconnected from decision-makers. Public buildings, including schools and community centres, suffer from poor maintenance. Leaking roofs, broken heating systems, and ageing interiors are common complaints, especially in council-run facilities. Meanwhile, funding cuts have led to the closure of several leisure centres, reducing access to vital spaces for health and youth engagement. Sheffield's transport system also lacks cohesion, Many residents rely on buses that are infrequent, expensive, and unreliable, especially in outer suburbs where alternative options are limited. This disconnect makes it harder for people to access work, education, and essential services. The city's working class communities have long been its backbone, but many feel overlooked. Despite efforts to bring in high-tech industries, a significant portion of the population sees little benefit. The vision of Sheffield as a modern green city clashes with the lived reality of those still waiting for basic improvements to their homes, streets, and opportunities. Number 2. Manchester. Manchester, often hailed as the northern powerhouse, has undergone one of the most ambitious urban transformations in the UK. Gleaming skyscrapers, digital startups, and luxury flats have reshaped its skyline. But behind the booming properties market lies a growing wave of inequality, displacement, and urban fatigue that tells a different story. The city's expansion has brought rapid gentrification. Areas once feel-good, with community spirit and affordable homes, like Ancoats, Hume, and parts of Salford, have been transformed into zones of high-end development. Long-time residents face increasing rent prices, forced relocations, and the loss of local identity. The people who helped build Manchester's cultural soul are now struggling to stay in the very neighbourhoods they once called home. The housing crisis has escalated. Despite a surge in construction, the majority of new builds cater to investors, not families. At the same time, homelessness has visibly increased. Tent encampments under bridges and near canals have become a common sight. Emergency shelters are overstretched, and social housing availability is at an all-time low. Meanwhile, public services are stretched thin. Mental health support, youth centres, and transport links outside the city centre often fail to meet demand. The imbalance is stark. While the heart of Manchester gleams with innovation, the outskirts are marked by underfunded schools, unemployment, and neglected infrastructure. Manchester is undeniably thriving, for some, but that prosperity has come with a price. The city is at risk of becoming a symbol of urban exclusion, where opportunity is gated behind glass towers, and many are left watching from the outside. Number 1. London, the beating heart of the UK, and one of the world's most iconic cities, is facing a growing crisis hidden beneath its glossy skyline. Often portrayed as a global hub of finance, fashion, and technology, London is also becoming increasingly unlivable for a large portion of its own population. The housing market is out of control. Average rents have soared to record highs, forcing many working professionals into house shares, long commutes, or out of the city altogether. Council housing is in crisis, with long waiting lists and thousands stuck in temporary accommodation. In some boroughs, entire families live in cramped single-room units, sharing kitchens and bathrooms with strangers. Homelessness has reached devastating levels. People sleeping rough are now a common sight on Oxford Street, King's Cross, and under railway bridges across the city. Local shelters are overwhelmed, and support services are underfunded and stretched beyond capacity. The transport system, once the pride of the capital, is buckling under demand. Delays, strikes, and rising fares have made daily commutes a stressful and costly ordeal. For those in outer boroughs, access to jobs and education is increasingly limited. Inequality is now written into London's landscape. A short walk can take you from a multi-million-pound penthouse to a food bank queue. Crime rates are climbing, especially in deprived areas, where youth services have been slashed and police visibility has dropped. Despite its global reputation, many residents feel like outsiders in their own city. As international investment pours into luxury developments and commercial real estate, the needs of everyday Londoners are being sidelined. London remains a city of dreams, but for too many, that dream has become unreachable. The capital is still moving, but for thousands, it's moving in the wrong direction. Across the UK, from historic steel towns to bustling cosmopolitan hubs, the cracks are beginning to show. These cities, once the engines of industry, innovation, and identity, are now grappling with issues that go far deeper than broken buildings or budget deficits. Behind each name on this list are real communities, facing rising costs, failing systems, and a growing sense of being left behind in a country that's changing too fast for them to catch up. What makes this trend especially alarming is that it's happening in some of the UK's most influential urban centres. These are not forgotten villages or isolated rural areas. These are major cities, rich in history, culture, and potential, yet still falling apart due to mismanagement, underinvestment, and widening inequality. This isn't just about concrete and glass. It's about quality of life, dignity, and the future of millions who call these places home. While some areas attract cranes, condos, and corporations, others face closed libraries, leaking roofs, and empty promises. This urban divide is deepening, and unless addressed head-on, the long-term impact could reshape the very soul of the UK's cities. Every city has its breaking point. The question is, how close are we to reaching it? We poured hours of research and storytelling into this video. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment and tell us, which city shocked you the most and why? If you found this video insightful, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it means the world to us and helps us keep creating content that matters.